Wonderful to have you here. My name is Oran Ryan, and on behalf of the Limerick Writers Centre, I'd like to welcome you all to one of many evenings. It's a new series brought to you by the Limerick Writers Centre. The series is called The Poetry Circle, in honour of the great Limerick poet Des O'Grady, who was first read at a gig also called the Poetry Central Circle in 1954 at the White House Bar, just up on O'Connell Street. We have excellent poetry from excellent poets, and we have music from the wonderful Three Women Sing. And we have plenty of time. So I'll just briefly introduce Three Women Sing. We've had them here before, and they were awesome. Made up of Shauna Bray, Claire Watts, and Anne Rinn. Shauna is an Irish singer-songwriter living in Milltown, Malbay. Her thoughtful prose has a haunting honesty and meaning drawn from her life experiences. She plays a part of a duo alongside her husband Paul McCabe, who is also an accomplished musician. Claire Watts is an all-round musician who plays traditional Irish music on flute, is a singer-songwriter and a guitar player. She teaches music and recently released her second album. And Anne Rinn is only lately come to the whole music scene after rearing her family and most importantly finding her voice. So without further ado, I give you Three Women Sing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Every hour of every day, this globe of the world spins around. Stop it with my finger and it's you I found. You're my landmark, my North Star, compass of my heart, that's what you are. When I stumble into this town and the blizzard struck me down, and you showed me the way every hour of every day. You're my landmark, my North Star, compass of my heart, that's what you are. There's Hansel with his trail of crumbs, and Gretel marches home to the beat of her own drum, reaching a fork in the road. I see the home fires glow. You're my landmark, my North Star, compass of my heart, that's what you are.
Beautiful. Talk about being precisely on time. Precisely on time. Joe Slade's fifth poetry collection, Cycles and Lost Monkeys, I love the title, was published by Salmon Poetry in March 2019. She has published 4 previous collections with Salmon, including The Painter's House, 2013, was a joint recipient of the Michael Hartnett Poetry Prize in 2014. Her poems have been translated into French, Spanish, Romanian, Norwegian, Russian, Italian and Slovenian, published in literary journals and broadsheets in Northern Ireland, UK, Canada, Russia, France. The list here is just, she has an amazing bio. So without further ado, let's hear from the poet herself, Jo Slade.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and you've gorgeous voices.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really lovely. Thanks. I really enjoyed that, even though I was a little late. So I'm going to start reading from this collection tonight with this first poem a lot of the poems refer back to childhood in this collection in sort of roundabout ways, because I have a granddaughter now, and I guess that propelled me backwards for a little bit. And maybe that came to mind too when I was thinking of this poem, which is called After Such a Fall, which of course anybody who has read Alice in Wonderland will know that that refers to that. So it's called After Such a Fall. In a house not far from here, in a shoebox under a bed, a heart beats in pink tissue paper. She dreads the nights where they take her, wrapped in black so the moon can't save her. Through a hole in the bed, down a tunnel she topples, over and over, into a pool as deep and cool as a sailor's palm, as round as a penny. If you see her, catch her and bring her home, her body drenched, her jimmies torn. She'll slip like a lip through a vacant lot if you don't stop her. She'll disappear or reappear in a deadly spot. She never cries. She lies stiff as steel inside a dream she can't remember. Oh, tell her not to dwell there. Tell her not to dwell there. I wonder if I could have a glass of water. My mouth is dry. Rich, will you get me a glass? Thanks. Thanks a million, darling. I really appreciate that. Your mouth gets dry. You can talk.
Some more than
This next poem is called Assassin. Quite a bit of this book is concerned really with what's going on in the world, all around the world. And so maybe I will read actually the second poem in the book, because that begins to make it clearer. It's called I See Them in the Distance, and this is one of the motivations really for the book. I see them in the distance, sliding by on a conveyor of souls. She is there, always with a willing smile that draws light from me. Light that fills the middle distance, so space becomes an ocean of waves, gently pushing the shore. What world am I locked into, my skull dark with imaginings? I see them, I can feel their warmth, as though they were the living, and I have died in a century of images. And that refers really to the images that bombard us all the time on the television of disasters and wars all over the world. With that in mind, I sing, I turn my back on the world, and a tidal bat of ignominy cracks off me. Mercy drags me away. Sometimes it almost kills me. I let my back take the whack, wave after wave of war, abysmal days, common tortures. Women's fist-marked faces, boy soldiers with guns. When they open their mouths, their futures explode. Cover the stranger in a cloak, a raincoat, a hoodie. Hide her among ruins in Homs. Let her sleep beneath her city. Oh, where is the white tree, the one that grows out of pity? And this is about a little sculpture that I found, that actually Richard found and brought home, and it was in the garden, and I have been all winter looking at this little sculpture. It will be her second winter coming next, the broken woman I found in a skip and saved her. saved her who fell or slept and forgot to wake. Small statuette, I fixed her broken legs. Her severed breasts I replaced with cups. I put a stick in the hollow of her wrist to hang a lamp. At night she has a purpose. My guide to hiddenness stands between the fig tree and the rose, no taller than my arm, at arm's length the span to touch her flame when it is lit. Along a rail of light she breathes her livingness. Sorry, this next poem I'm going to read is a poem, two poems that commemorate my brother in memory of Tim. In my dream, birds dropped from the sky, their breasts still warm. My brother, who had recently died, fell with them, his dark eyes and usual smile. This morning, he stood at my kitchen window. I could see through him, like a ghost in a 60s movie. We were children, locked in the same vision. And this was remembering him when I was staying in Lisbon, in Portugal. I stood at the window and watched trains disappear into darkness. The glass rattled, a streak of light flashed, a veil of melancholy covered the city. I do as my oculist advised and keep binoculars on the sill. Will I recognize his shape, so like others at this distance? Or his face, suddenly visible in the orange light of a pedestrian crossing? And this the second last poem is called Tree, and it's one of about 10 prose poems in the book. Tall eucalyptus tree bends in the wind, how the green of its limbs has faded, as if it had sprung from a forgotten day, or something fell from a great distance, through cloud and out through a haze, turned its frame pale and curved, as though with a nudge it would fall and be easily broken. Wind ruffles its leaves like an old garment moths fly from. Still breath comes from the deep, through earth into its bark. The wind shifts to the east, a strange gust updrafting, and I'm watching the tree and its leaves quiver. I hear children screech, and further away someone laughing, sounds that echo in the void like words that have ceased. Or is it the moan of the wind as it stirs the high branches? At evening, the moon cloaks the tree in silver, like a child drooping in a fairy dress. The silence is comforting. Somehow the word that was the tree has vanished. And I'll just read two poems from the last section in the book, which is called The White Cottage. And the White Cottage was a gas chamber in Birkenau in Auschwitz. And it was actually originally a farmer's cottage, and they turned it into a gas chamber. This selection of poems really is a memory of Edith Stein, who died in Auschwitz, and her sister Rosa. And she was a Jewish woman, a philosopher, a poet, a feminist. She later converted to Catholicism. She became a Carmelite nun for the last 4 or 5 years of her life, and they have subsequently actually canonized her. But originally she said when she went to her death in Birkenau that she was dying for her people, Jewish people. So there's always been a little controversy over Jewish people claiming her and the Catholics claiming her and all this. However, I come as an agnostic and appreciate her as a woman. Birkenau. Be among us is what I hear them say. They want me to lie down in the grass, to listen when earth speaks up to me. So I lie on that exact spot, and time draws my shape on the earth, a shape that is me, but not my breath nor my heart beating fast. No, it is not time, though I am willing to look into their dark, though I lay down in the damp loam and felt at home among their bones. And this is a short poem called Sisters from that same part of the book. Sisters, did you hear the sound of a train at your shoulder? It sped away through a tunnel of trees. Sisters, did you see crystals of snow form to glaciers? There were bodies in layers like thieves. Sisters, did you speak to your keepers? They ransacked our quarters, language hid in a bunk with fleas. Thank you very much.
And like puppies, a book of poetry is for life, not just for Christmas. So here I am, shamelessly advertising these beautiful words. Ladies, would you like to sing us a song or so?
Love
Thank you very much.
All I ever wanted is an honest life, to be the person that I really am inside, to tell you all the things I did that night. Sometimes it isn't easy to live an honest life. All I ever needed was a little more time to grow, time to understand the things that I know, to listen to you lovingly instead of getting up to go. Some people need a little more time to grow. Right when you have it all figured out, life throws you another doubt. My head's up high, I've got nothing but time to work at living an honest life. All I ever asked for was a way to understand all of life's lessons the best way I can. How to be honest, how to be wise, and how to be a good friend. Some things take a lifetime to fully understand. Right when you have it all figured out, life throws you another doubt. My head's up high, I've got nothing but time life throws you another die. My head's up high, I've got nothing but time to work at living an honest life. To work at living an honest life.
Richard Peabody's most recent poetry collection, Guinness on the Quay. Just a moment. Here it is. It's published by Salmon Poetry. Jesse. Jesse. Jesse Lendenny.
And Siobhan Hudson.
Equally awesome Siobhan Hudson. There's no absence of awesomeness here. There's equal awesomeness. It was published by Salmon Poetry in March in 2019. Early poetry collections include I'm in Love with the Morton Salt Girl, Sad Fashions, Mood Vertigo, and Speed Enforced by Aircraft. Another awesome title. He is the remaining founding editor of Gargoyle magazine, established in 1976, an editor or co-editor of 20 plus anthologies, including Mondo Barbie, Mondo Elvis, Conversations with Gore Vidal, and A Different Beat, Writings by Women of the Beat Generation. He's the author of a novella and 3 story collections. He taught graduate fiction writing at Johns Hopkins University for 15 years. Let's just hear from him.
This is really cool. Thank you to the Limerick Writers Center, and thank you to Nelly's Cafe, and all my love and thanks to Jesse Lendenny for doing this and taking all these people along for the School of Salmon ride. So I got a bunch of stuff out of here I'm gonna run past you. This is the rules for experimental writing. Talk to the monsters under your bed. Visit a slaughterhouse. Drink kerosene. Eat Darvon and mothballs. Burn your math books. Handcuff a lover to the bed rail. Add bacon. Watch an autopsy. Tour the Holocaust Museum. Catch an anaconda in the Everglades. Have a C-section. Dig up a coffin. Oh wait, these are the rules for writing realism. So I was talking about this one today, so I'm going to read it. It's Big Sur, 1976. Henry Miller's Big Sur was something I had to experience. The cosmological eye and bohemian surf, Johnny Rivers in a juiced-up ragtop racing north on Highway 1. How do you get down to the beach, I wondered? No roads, no switchbacks, cliffs plummeted to rocks below, late model wrecks every 100 yards. Too dangerous to winch them up, a grizzled tow truck driver said. It's like a junkyard for old cars, I said. He looked at me funny and laughed. How do you get down there? Most people drive, he said. He dropped him in an overlook. Was that all? Big Sur, just one big graveyard for suicides? I sat and watched hangliners rise and fall along the cliffs like pteranodons. Ate my lunch, dreamed of owning a glass house atop a rock outcropping. Below me, a bright yellow wing slammed into the cliffside and then plunged toward the Pacific waves below. Little jazz bomb. A reverberation of bassists. Ron Carter, Ray Brown, Jack Bruce and that fretless boomerang of his aiming low beneath your reality, Steve Swallow, Percy Heath, Glenn Moore. What if somebody pulled an Ornette Coleman, put 2 on stage at the same time, a double quartet, Charlie Hayden and Scott LaFaro on bass, Billy Higgins and Ed Blackwell on drums, would the stage sink beneath all that funk? Richard Davis, Stanley Clark, Jaco Pastorius, all that heavy-bottomed hocus pocus, Gary Peacock, Eddie Gomez, Miroslav Vatu. Jazz all-star gigs are like all-star baseball games, somewhere between slow pitch and the 6th grade class picnic. As real as that. Milt Hinton, Dave Holland, Eberhard Weber, So what if you aimed 6 or 7 bass-playing gunslingers at the stage with the rumble so deep you'd think for sure this is a 9 on the Richter scale, a train hauling every soul that has ever been born, or the apocalypse, brave and bold and in living color? What then? Why, Mingus, of course. What else could roll beneath that glorious rumble? Only the underdog squared, the angry man of jazz, Charles Mingus, Mr. Pithecanthropus erectus, removing your spine without breaking the skin, one vertebrae at a time. I'm trying to remember where this is coming out. Besides here, I don't think it's been printed yet. This is called La Petite Mort. Let's go away for a while, snaking through fields of bodacious clusterfuck. Swedish girls singing Roll Me Over in the Clover and Do It Again on the ferry back from Copenhagen, where they get more alcohol bang for their euro. A blue-white cloud sky reflected not in your eyes, but projected by baby blues skyward into the stratosphere, where we float away as one on the lazy river of sex, because who doesn't want to orgasm every 5 minutes for eternity? And I totally blew the telling time part. Okay. All right, so since he's coming here next week, and I read this poem the other day, I'm going to read it again. This is the assassination of Donald Trump. It rolls in like a high tide on the Isle of Skye, drowning the rocky beach stones and altering the eye's vision so that known becomes unknown. Death, a type of Santa Claus, surprising everyone with baggy gifts. Last piece in the puzzle, endgame. He no more sees it coming than a solitary fish comprehends how one moment it is moving through water and the next airborne in an eagle's claws, gasping, bleeding, spent. Or else an Agatha Christie moment, done in by a colossal cast of characters like Murder on the Orient Express, or gamed out of existence, one cabinet member at a time, like And Then There Were None. The assassination of Donald Trump as inevitable as sunrise, sunset, the phases of the moon and seasons, or the Pied Piper taking the children from Hamlin Town. Yet I find myself hoping for the saucer men to abduct this president and all of his minions. Make it soon, please. So, I haven't been in Ireland in a long time, and this was my first visit, and I went to Yeats Tower, Thorbelly, 1977. I fell in love with Yeats Tower at first sight, the way the creek circled around the study, the view. Jealousy surged. I wanted to live in so perfect a place in a country where artistry was actually prized. I love Yeats' poetry. Hearing him on tape for the first time was like discovering the Druids in a clearing. I think of him every time I watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail, that crazed wizard on the moors. There's a movement on his writing desk, a butterfly, still save for the occasional wing beat. I'm alone. The other tourists are exploring distant parts of the tower. I put in a finger, and the butterfly climbs aboard. Maybe this place really is magical. I walk slowly to the window, my butterfly finger leading the way. I push it open with my other hand and release the butterfly back into the wild. The blue and yellow wings circle around me once before following the creek. Let's see. So I read this the other day, and like everyone, did I read this the other day? I think I read this at the AWP. My wet nursing career, or life without mammary glands. I want to let you in on a little secret. Men and women are not created equal. My nipples aren't cut out for nursing, and my daughter realizes this fact. I am the other big person in her life, the one without beaucoup milk. And it's not like I haven't tried. Every bottle in creation, every nipple, even pouring milk on my chest and trying to get her to lick it off. Okay, that's a lie. But I did consider it a possibility one day as she refused the 100th bottle and screamed for mommy for hours. Actually, after a recent swim, my daughter pointed at my chest and said, "Daddy Nanas." and then harnessing all of the flirtatious smiles and powers that will soon bring teenage stud muffins magically to my front door, hugged my arm and got real close and asked, "Daddy nurse? Daddy nurse?" Women are stronger than men will ever be. I'm not sure any amount of skin-on-skin smiley smiles are worth that kind of torment, but then I'm just a guy. Wait, did I miss something? Oh, sorry. My bad. Daddy nurse, daddy nurse. My wife, still nursing our 2-year-old by choice, urges me to go for it in a share the pain empathy ploy that's oh so transparent. She's getting regularly chewed and mauled, and her nipples have the battle scars to prove it. Bloody lesions, scabs, oozing mommy tartar. More proof, if any were needed, that women are stronger than men will ever be. I'm not sure any amount of skin-on-skin smiley smiles are worth that kind of torment, but then I'm just a guy. A few nights ago, I was lounging on the couch, and my daughter climbed up on top of me and out of the blue lowered her head and bit down hard on my chest. Clean through my shirt, and my little saber tooth made a direct hit on one nana, and it hurt so much I had tears in my eyes and I let out a shocked yelp. Let me tell you, the sparkle in her eyes was scary, but the one in my wife's eyes was even worse. She, witnessing the event, still hasn't stopped laughing. Daddy nurse? No. I think my career as a wet nurse is over. All right, I'm going to read one more. God. I just heard it right here.
I'm going to need therapy, I think.
When I read it at AWP, everyone in the room went, "Fuck this guy," and then they like went, "What?" And at the end, they came up and they said, "I've never heard a man read about nursing before." I said, "Well, there you go." So this is the cloning of the American mind in the same vein of the trombone. On some dusty shelves in a nondescript office building, ready to splash over the lips of their jars, the government's clones of Karl Rove's brain sit stewing like prunes in their own vile juices. A lightning storm could send them skittering and sloshing along those endlessly dreary gray corridors. You've seen it happen in B-movies, hungry mutant brains in search of the proper host. And what then? If we're lucky, those brains will sit and sulk in pitch darkness for 1,000 years. So lost in the labyrinth of gobbledygook documentation that eventually they'll gladly devour each other.
Thank you, Richard. Ladies,
And then I fall down.
ladies, once more with feeling.
Thank you.
Give us another one.
Allison drove to the sea to feel the sand beneath her feet. Summer dress blowing in salty breezes along to gentle waves that whispered gentle lulling song. He saw her there alone, smiling, dancing and gay, a girl and her ghost, oh, it took his breath away. Under a blue sky, birds fly, a seagull watches suspicious, and 2 seals drift lazily along as Allison undresses, hiding in a tomb, bare legs burning in the sun. A boy of 10 lies hiding behind his daddy's gun. Whoop, aim, click, fire, blood stains on the trigger fingers of a child. Rendering voice and legs useless, a moment frozen, a terrible deed unfolded. unfolding, and all the world is still and silent, a hungry ocean claiming another soul. Allison, Allison, under the sea, forever forgotten to all but he, a boy, now a man, old and meek, not a word to the world did he ever again speak. Allison, Allison, under the sea.
Sue Loves, the memoir of Mona Lisa and other poems, was published by Salmon Poetry in March 2019. She's the author of 7 earlier collections of poetry. Her work has been recognised with notably the Jane Kenyon Poetry Prize and residencies with the St. Croix Watershed Research Station and Toft Laker Centre in Minnesota, and the Unamuno Author Series in Madrid. I got that right. She's a 2019 recipient of Artist Initiative Grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board. I give you Sue Love.
Thank you. I'm gonna, can I touch it and put it down?
Yeah, put it down.
Leave it
Oh,
to the
okay,
expert.
thank you.
This goes to you too.
Great, okay, thank you. I'm the newest salmon poet, so I'm like the kid sister trailing along. So today, my friend Kelly was showing me her meditation tree, and I was bending down to admire it, and I bonked myself in the head with one of its branches,
Oh dear.
which, if you think about it, it was a meditation tree, and I should have been paying attention, right? So I decided to start with this poem, which is essentially about paying attention. And it was inspired by a friend of mine, had a performance, and in the performance notes there was a question which said, why rely on the structure of 2 opposing things? So I let that question sit with me for a while, and this is the poem. To get outside of ourselves. Some of us align with trees, with their familiar largos. Each tree is a world of water, but do not mistake that world for tree. Same goes for us. The god of water is the moon, which, as far as we know, is an agent of gravity that masquerades as light. So we reached for the moon. It is said, when we evolved to standing, you believe we evolved? We lost function in our tails. Tails, according to dogs, are for expressing joy, curiosity, fear, and for wrapping oneself up. Also, jumping. For these, trees don't have tails, but do have branches. Just now, a buck pulled that pine branch like a bell rope. Then what do you suppose when he looked in my window? For a moment, we made a ring of attention, like mirrors placed on opposing walls, looking at themselves. We felt mirror distant, distance being a function of light. For example, did you read the program notes? I always do. I want to know just what the creator was thinking. Why, it said, rely on the structure of 2 opposing things? We rely because we must, just as a tree can't not grow. Reliance is a function of being human. As for the structure of 2s, don't you think this is passé? On a spectrum seems au courant, but that too is also too linear. How about let us rely on the structure of ringing things? So there's a section in the book that comes from my stints taking a month of life drawing sessions. I got to have a live model and everything, and I was just trying to figure it out on my own. So this is life drawing, first session, 6 poses. So the model would take a pose and hold it for a certain amount of time and then another pose. Okay. 6 poses. 5 minutes. I'm after a line and I'm out of words. There's a naked man, very nice, to pose however I want. I have no idea what I want. Something occurs on the path from my eyes to the page. The line is not what I see. 5 minutes. Life drawing feels like learning to hold back the extra limbs of the E, to tame the curves of the S and lay it down facing the right direction. It feels like learning to say what I mean. 5 minutes. Something occurs and the line is not right, but I like it anyway. No reason. 3 minutes. 5 minutes. The hands and ears give me trouble, so I erase them. That space, though, between the man's arm and torso, my line comes close to that. Should I be concerned that I'm more comfortable with negative space? About that, my painter friend, untroubled by hands and ears, says only positive things. 5 minutes. I'm still learning to say what I mean. What I want is the line that draws you to me. This is called Line Out of Line. I'll read 2 sections from it. If I could master the line, I could give you the taste of a thickly buttered crescent roll dipped in coffee milk, the weight of a brush to draw through your mother's hair, a rain puddle reaching up cool under the bridge of your foot. If I could master the line, I'd give you my name, my division, but the line wild, the line out of line. 2. In the tree of words, life and body have the same mother. To remain, to persevere, continue, see, leave, see, amount left over after. Division, to be carried, pulled, pushed, the line breaks still, breaks soil, draws itself up, out, down, the line tracks you, tracks itself, the pencil on chase gets to where it is only by the path it takes. The body moves of its own mind. The pencil moves of its own mind. You negotiate the field between. To draw life is to bequeath a track. Show up. Show up. Show up. Remain. Leave. Leaf. Love. You can persevere and still lose. Shift and still lose. Love and still lose. That's not the storyline. Be the remnant. Years later, you see what losing won. So the title poem of the book is actually composed of 14 modified sonnets. So I can't read you the whole thing, but I'd like to read you the section that was inspired by my imagining of why she smiled the way she did. Leonardo began to sing, not to me, but for me. His eyes steadied on me, unlike any other man, without desire or judgment. From out of time, with whatever power pushes the night, his song-flung vision enclosed me in serenity, vast and lit. He painted a bridge that crossed to nowhere, and a road that wound unreliably toward a storm that aroused the air. I have kept you, he said, like a market bird. Come, paint next to me. The last section of the book is a collection of odes. And so I would read you a couple of those before we finish. And this one is called Ode to Instinct. Instinct, if you have it, is a kind of gravity. My dog's whole being knows that, not visible to me. It vibrates through the leash. Sometimes we run after rabbits within her knowing, my not knowing, too fast to watch the ground, to place my feet. They place themselves. And I'd like to read the last one in honor of all the anonymous people you link with during the course of an ordinary day throughout your whole life. And so many of them, you end up always remembering them. Ode to Anon. Oh, the light as others give it to us. Water, sand, birds, flash it to us. I still remember years ago on the bus, my held back impulse to lean forward, gently say, "Sir, there are rainbows in your hair." The set of the man's shoulders suggested he did not know this way in which he was beautiful, that the sun chose him. Of all the people on the right-hand side of the bus, rows 1 through 15, to alight, to adorn. I withheld. Perhaps it was spring, gritty and drab. Certainly I was weary. Anonymous you, did anyone ever tell you? There are rainbows in your hair.
Alas, friends, we draw near the end of another wonderful evening, and just before Shona, Claire, and Anne sing us a few more wonderful, awesome songs, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Sam Press for his wonderful poets, Joe, Richard, and Sue, and 2 small housekeeping notes. If I don't give the housekeeping notes, I will be frowned at for a very long period of time by this gentleman over there. He can really frown, you know, he really can. There's a book launch 7:30 on Friday. Hugh McFadden, the awesome Hugh McFadden, a book of prose and journalism, Organic Words. It's in the White House at 7:30. And the following Thursday, right? Yes, the following Thursday at CB1, 51 O'Connell Street, we have our regular on the nail open mic, plus guests Stephen Bond and Rachel Coventry. So that's just about it. I think I've done my duty. Thank you all very much.
Salmon poet Rachel Coventry.
Say again, say again.
Salmon poet Rachel Coventry.
Rachel?
She's a salmon poet.
Rachel Coventry, salmon poet. Rachel Coventry is a salmon poet. There are many awesome salmon poets. Many. Very much. Go for it.
So before we finish up, I'd just like to thank Dominic very much for inviting us, and also a bit of housekeeping for us. We have some CDs for sale. They're just beside the books.
Commercial break.
Beside the books for sale.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Check these out.
Very good.
So thanks very
Sorry
much,
about that.
everyone.
You're tangled up in ribbon, tangled up in bows, tangled up in stories, waiting to be told. Bangles of silver, rattling in the sun, relying on my eyes to tell you you're the one. You've gotta look for a silver lining. Every cloud has one. And step out from the darkness into the sun. Ask the magpies for your fortune, one for sorrow and two for joy. Those black and white prophets are wheeling in the sky. You've gotta look for a silver lining. Every cloud has one. Step out from the darkness into the sun. The good times will come back, my friend. But even on the darkest day, know that all your dreams are just one step away. You've gotta look for the silver lining. Every cloud has one. And step out from the darkness into the sun. So look for the silver lining. Every cloud has one. Step out from the darkness into the sun.
Thanks very much.
Okay, we're going to do one more.
One more thing, yeah. Give us another one. Come on, come on, come on.
Okay.
Give us another one.
Okay. This is a song that I wrote for one of my boys. This is Donovan's song. Pardon? I think I am, yeah. You're scaring me now. Did I go down today?
No, I don't know you.
Yeah, okay. Sure, if it's wrong, I'll stop and I'll start again. Isn't that fair enough?
I know a man who cannot move. He breathes in, breathes out, showers us all with love. He lies there quietly, sending out good vibes to a crazy world. He knows somehow the struggles of all, knows his power can keep us calm, knows his spirit is strong and clear, and he helps us all lose our fear. He breathes in, he breathes out, sending out good vibes. He's a teacher, a God light, a shining light. He seldom speaks, but he tells it all with his beautiful smiling eyes. I know a man who cannot move. He breathes in, breathes out, showers us all with love. He lies there quietly, sending out good vibes to a crazy world. He breathes in, he breathes out, sending out good vibes. He's a teacher, a guide, a shining light. He seldom speaks, but he tells it all with his beautiful smiling eyes. He seldom speaks, he tells it all with his beautiful smiling eyes.
Thank you.
Folks, I'm a man who loves surprises, and I have a surprise for you. We have yet another poet from Salmon. Kelly Moffat's work has just come out, and she's appeared in journals such as the Colorado Review, the Cincinnati Review, Rattle, the Loyal Review, and she is the author of a collection of poetry through Cinnamon Press and a chapbook through Dancing Girl Press. So, without further ado, a few poems from the wonderful Kelly Moffat.
Well, thank you, Jesse. I wasn't. I'm more than happy to read. Thank you for inviting me. I'm from Kentucky. I'm a professor at Northern Kentucky University, which is right next to Cincinnati. And I've just spent 2 weeks showing college students and graduate students the magic of Ireland. And all of them want to come and move here. They've fallen in love. But it was nice to send them on the coach and get them home. And now I'm loving my time at Salmon and enjoying the burn. So yeah, I'll go ahead and read a few poems. This first one is called Living with the Household Gods. The gods know we are aging. The gods know it is us against them. Sometimes the gods are damaged. Sometimes they have holes so need to be patched up. So we get glue and keep at it. Some nights we growl like Rhea Silvia and the gods suckle. We don't want bright color gods because we can only handle so much. We fear the gods without eyes and the dark corner gods. We sometimes try to eat the gods. We sometimes use a god straw and a god cup and drink the gods up. Sometimes we fall to our knees and press our prayers like stamps. We don't permit doubt to hold us. We want the good gods to be easy to carry about in case we have to outrun the bad gods. Story is charmingly repetitive. We are wrong, the gods less so. We spend a day with blue feathers on our heads. We wear scallop shells in our ears. We call for wind to find a dandelion seed. And in all of this, we know that we are near the end because we have seen the God of last breath. We know the God of death moan. We know the gods exit and leave behind a god's shell like a snail. We think we can trick the gods. We empty the god drawer. We fill the god pail. We whisper to the god candle. We pack our bags. We grab our coats. But still, we know we'll never get to do the gods to do what we want them to spare us. Being. Honeysuckle grips the back wall in the coming light. Silence carries with it all of the silence before. I am what shows up. Each day I enter and take off my shoes. In the field, deer gather what is possible. The house holds me. Sartre's bad faith means acting without authenticity. I watch myself fill the coffee filter. My nightgown clings as a bat wing to bone. When I kiss you, I am a mask kissing you. I don't understand more than that. History of a river. She took off a layer at a time. Well, I guess I should say this first. In Ireland, do you have that game where you play like you're a surgeon as a child? And you put those little tweezers in? Okay. Operation, yes, yeah.
Vivisection.
Okay, good. All right, so I'll just read this and end with one more. So it's called History of a River. And I'm from Pennsylvania, which is actually considered part of Appalachia. She took off a layer at a time and didn't stop with her lacy white bra, but then went for a rib and removed it quite easily, like that game of surgery she played as a child, using the tweezer to pluck a bone. She had a steady hand, always knew this, so she went a bit deeper to the lung, and she knew that she could still breathe with the other one left intact, so she took that out too. And then she went for anything extraneous, like a kidney, the appendix. She considered the womb. Did she want it? Would she like small arms around her neck? She couldn't make up her mind, so her hand made it for her, and the womb slipped out as an empty balloon. Then an ovary, plum-shaped and pink-purple all the way through. She went to the damp earth that formed a valley just deep enough for what was left of her, and she offered all that she had gathered. And before you think this is an origin story, know that before her the rivers were plenty on the earth, but here in rural Pennsylvania there were only thin trees planted from the logging companies that left large clearings and crumpled earth. Here she had a father who was never home and a mother who wailed most hours that she had to calm with cold washcloths. Here she had armies of boys ready to tease her, and she had a 45 of Janice Ian's at 17 on repeat. Sadness piled as dog shit in the backyard. Some mornings she would wake to her mother beheading snakes on the porch or the squeals of sick kittens that multiplied on the lawn. So what else was there to do but to make magic? She sat in the dirt and chewed every nail and spit them out one by one, then closed her eyes and prayed as she was taught, and then dug her finger into the earth the way she feared any finger ever digging into her, and she watched the water bubble up, swell, create riverbeds, river currents, river rocks, river creatures, become what one poet called a great brown god to house river dreams, and under it she stayed, cross-legged, quiet, wet. And I'll end this one because this is what closes the book. My husband and I have had, we've been together since we were 17, and we've had this kind of, we're okay, we're not okay, we're okay. And so we were living apart for several years, and then we decided to try to live together in Romania for 4 months. So that was amazing. This was the last day of that period of time, and we had just seen a cello soloist, and this is in Cluj-Napoca, Romania. The city flushes gold like the end of a western. The marvelous interrupts our pain. We thirst for this brand of grace and allow the elegance to cloud us. Jesus said, "Let the day be anxious for itself." And Buddha said, not to want for tomorrow. But here you stand as a glorious deity. A prayer even could take this minute away. But I say it anyway, in my head and calmly, and watch the car windows take in the sky. As we cross the street, we perform the crossing, each of us deep in our own private plot. The music from moments before still playing in what from now on will be known as our past. Thank you for letting me read.
Don't wanna have feet of stone. I don't wanna have feet of stone. I want to follow this river of life where it will let me go. I don't wanna have feet of stone. I don't wanna have a dagger tongue. I don't wanna have a dagger tongue. Don't want my words to be a weapon but a healing balm. I don't wanna have a dagger tongue. I don't wanna have a heavy mind. I don't wanna have a heavy mind. Don't wanna hold these thoughts that are chains of iron. I don't wanna have a heavy mind. I wanna have eyes of love. I wanna have eyes of love. Count everyone's life precious as my own. Offer my back for my sister's load. I wanna have eyes of love. I wanna have eyes of love.
Wait, Gareth, you don't this way for a second.
We will.
People do.